Hey everyone. So this week we talked with Kedar. We've known Kedar for a long time, and so it was really fun to catch up with him and hear about his life and his journey.
And Kedar has a lot of great reflections and introspection that I think that a lot of people in healing, coaching, facilitating modalities could relate to.
Yeah, so we hope you enjoy this episode.
Hi, and welcome to Kedar, who we will be interviewing today.
What's up?
Thanks for joining us, dude.
Good to
You're
be
our
here.
first interview for this season, so
Oh, I'm honored.
looking
Yeah,
forward to it.
it's so exciting to be doing a second season and for you to be starting it for us because, like we were talking about, I started my circling journey with both of you, basically.
Yeah, and me as well. My journey into all of the relational presence world and everything in that whole sphere came in connection with the two of you. So I don't know if it's possible to share that story without it being a very personal and relational one between the three of us.
But you did the SES at Maple
That's right. That's
with
right.
us.
Yeah.
Cool. Great. I'm starting to remember.
hmm
So that was the first retreat we did together. That was in 2019. And you said that was your first circling retreat. How did you get involved with it?
Yeah. So My, so I think a little context to give for folks who don't know me is that I am a I'm a circling facilitator. I'm a coach. I'm also an ayahuasca facilitator, and I specifically work with that medicine. And my journey in that world is all very intertwined. It's all connected with each other. And therefore, it's also connected with my own healing and transformational journey as well. Like they're all interconnected. And so the way I found my way to circling as a practice was actually through Daniel Thorson and his
Hmm.
podcast. And so I remember he did an interview, I think, with Guy, and I'd already heard about this circling thing, but I dismissed it. And then I heard this podcast, and I don't remember what they talked about, how they talked about it, but whatever they did, it created this experience in me where I was like, that, I need to try that. And I just dove into the deep end, and I was like, hey, looks like the Monastic Academy is holding a 10-day long circling immersion over New Year's. Let me go to that. And so I just took a plunge into the deep end, and I'm so glad I did it that way and I didn't like try any other way, because I think that was the only way that I mean, this is how I am. I kind of dive into the intensity of things fully all the way. I like to immerse myself, and if I'm ready to go, I go. And so, and I'm glad I did that, because if it weren't for that, I don't think it would have really hit home what I find so compelling and powerful about
Hmm.
the practice, that I think has actually stayed with me today and actually informed kind of my whole compass for my business and what I do today in so many ways. But yeah, when I think back to that retreat, there's a couple moments that really stand out that broke me in a good way. Like when I came to the monastic academy, I had never been in a room with so many spiritually committed people. Like there's like a high level of commitment that I remember experiencing there from everyone that was a resident that was participating. And there was a high level of inness, and also there was such a low tolerance for certain kinds of bullshit that I was really appreciating, that I wasn't appreciating at the time, but I really appreciate now. Like I showed up to this circling immersion, and this is the first time in my life that people gave me like real relational feedback on what it was like to be with me. And I remember, I think one of the facilitators looked at me at one point a few days in, and he was just like, he's like, yeah, I don't trust you. I've been avoiding you, and I'm really curious about why that is. Like something about you has made me like turn the other way, and I think you can feel it, but I'm not into it. But I'm really curious about what the deal is with this. And I was like, whoa, what's up with that? And he leaned in and he got really curious about about what it was, and and there was another woman in that retreat. I remember at some point that I looked around at her and I smiled at her, and she said something along the lines of, every time you smile at me, like I feel like gross and like I want to crawl out of my own skin. And I was like,
Life changing.
what? And what everyone was basically pointing at, was that I was basically, I showed up to that retreat relating from the place that I thought I was gonna get the most love and validation from, which was like a certain aspect of my joy, a certain aspect of my charisma, a certain aspect of like what I knew and was good at. And I had basically dug these grooves relationally in my life into like, oh, these are the ways that I know that if I show up in most places, people will likely like me, validate me, and give me what I want in terms of connection. And because I was over expressing from that place, like I was basically pimping my own joy and doing that, I everyone there was like, I can see right through that. People could smell the insecurity that was like feeding that, and nobody was down to like play that game with me fully without being honest on some level about what it was actually like to be with that aspect of me. And then they told me, and then I saw it, and and it broke me. I was like, and then and by the end of the retreat was the first time I was like letting myself relate from not clean places, like from my anger and from my annoyance and grief, and letting that be included as in how I relate to the world. And that kind of honest relational feedback has just always stayed with me. This has been one of the things that has been one of the most valuable aspects of my life and my development, that I've treasured the most, is like very real relational feedback from people around me that can see clearly. And if I didn't have that, I don't know if I would be even close to the kind of person that I am today.
Looking back, how do you think getting into circling and receiving that kind of relational feedback was a part of some bigger transformation or some bigger like phase for you?
There is a theme for me, which is I always find myself orienting towards truth as much as and what I've found is, without having relational feedback in this way coming in directly, I am always going to have a less whole picture of who and what is moving through me at any given moment. And in my work in the world, I'm essentially offering the same thing. I'm essentially offering as clear and as powerful of a mirror as I can to the people that are coming and working with me for either their own healing or their own growth, to to see what they cannot see within themselves. And at a broader level, this feels like a thing that I just notice across the board, but I notice it's particularly tough the further up in terms of the amount of resource, authority, and status, and all those things are power that you have, the harder it is to surround yourself with good feedback. Like people that can be with you, see you, and know you over time, and then give you good relational feedback. Like those three things are so rare. And if I track my whole journey, like there have been so many moments where I've been like I've had my feet held to the fire by the community around me, where they've been like, "Hey, like you're not being responsible with the power that you're using." It's like, "Hey, you're running things in such a way that you're like putting what is going to give you love and validation over maybe what is actually best for the space around you." In different types of feedback that way that
Hmm.
only could come, that I could only receive if they could actually be with me in it. That's not just like, hey, you suck, see you later. Like it's like, hey, I'm with you, I care about you, I love you, and like there's more that's possible here. And they couldn't give me that if they didn't actually know me deeply enough. And this to me is actually like transcending the practice of circling, but this was the gateway for me to really, really appreciate and call this in more deeply. Yeah, yeah, I'm curious how it's all landing.
It made me start thinking about, like, I know you started that community in LA where you guys were offering events and doing like weekly practices and stuff. How was that? How was there a difference between like being a participant and then stepping into like I'm co-facilitator and leading these events with like these friends? Like I
Mm.
imagine much higher challenge level, but also like I know like as a teacher or facilitator, there's like a way in which like it's like easy, it's almost easier to hide in certain ways, but also there's a lot more like pressure too, and so it's sort of a double-edged sword.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I'm really grateful when you name that. I look fondly back on those first few years that I was starting up the LA like Relateful community, because when I
Mm,
started it, it was basically only me, and then Evan Shire was there, and he was kind of supporting at the very beginning, but it was
mm,
pretty much me facilitating every week, and I decided I was like, I'm going to show up every week until something happens.
mm,
And I made a commitment to myself. I'm like, I'm going to show up every week. I'm going to put a flag down. I'm going to invite people every week. Doesn't matter if there's one person, five people, and we're going to do it. And it became something over a few months. Like there was a hunger, and it was just the right time, and just a bunch of people showed up, and then including facilitators. But I remember I definitely started before I was ready, which has been a theme for me, jumping in a little bit before I was ready, and there's a great gift to that, and also always a cost too. But in to come back to what you were speaking to, this feels like one of the things that is actually really, really unique about circling, that I'm so grateful for, that I don't see elsewhere, where to lead, particularly flow, well, there is a way that you are invited, because the whole format of the practice is, it's another, it's like you as the facilitator, what you come in with at a beingness level and what you say is the context, because it is a practice of emergence between a group of people. It ends up being such a great mirror for who and what you're bringing, and also what you're bringing as a facilitator that is both named and unnamed,
Mhm.
and that really impacts what ends up happening in the circle. And because and to me that's just such a beautiful mirror for life, right? Like everything that is both seen and unseen in me is creating the reality that I'm living always. And this is good. This is actually true for any participant in the circle, but it's especially true when you're holding some amount of power as the facilitator. And so what that meant for me was I got to really practice bringing as much of me as I could and was willing to. And sometimes that meant like really like slicing my wrist and like going too far and being like, here's my bleeding heart, you know, and leading from that place and seeing what that did. And then sometimes it meant living in my facilitator persona and seeing what happened then. But I got a lot of practice, like finding how much of me to bring, and I don't know if I would have gotten that in another way, like whether it's in many other leadership roles, it's not baked into the format to do that
Mhm.
necessarily, you know. But for flow circles to flow, there's some amount of that needs to happen.
As I hear you talk about all this, the thing that I'm most struck by is how self-aware you are. Like, I don't talk to you that much these days, but I imagine you must do a lot of introspection.
Yeah, I do. I do. It's how I find insight, make meaning. It's also in a world where there's so much input to take in. Like if I'm not mindful, then my amount of consumption of other ideas, thoughts, and experiences, viewpoints, beliefs, and ways of being is going to be louder than my own. Like I don't have to do much. Like this phone is designed to do that. And so without that, I don't like it's like okay, like what is what is mine actually, truly? What's here that is wanting to come through me? And as a creative, I've been, whether it's music or writing or speaking or anything, there's a certain amount of like, okay, well, what's actually here? That that it's like it's almost like a like I don't know if either of you experienced this in the way that you creative, but like it has to come through me. Like I have to give it a channel. If it isn't, it's like I get sick in some way. Like, I get disintegrated in some way, shape, or form. The energy's got to go through.
It reminds me of like the first year that I led circling, I was at Maple, and no one else knew what circling was or had zero experience of it. So I was like the only person transmitting it. And I was like, and I had done zero training up until that point. So it was very clunky. And one of the things I feel like I had to learn as a facilitator that I'm still like mastering now as like teacher and coach and all these things that I imagine both of you have some version of this is like not taking over responsibility of like, oh, everyone has to have like a good time, or if something bad happens, that means like I did a bad job or something. But like channeling that source or something that's like I have a responsibility, but I also like what I'm trying to provide isn't like my knowledge or something. And
Totally.
so like how to like walk that tightrope of like I'm showing up fully, but I'm imperfect, and if you're trying to just like be me, it's going to be really bad. Um, and it sounds like that kind of like cuts through all of the stuff that you're doing, or I imagine with the ayahuasca and the circling and coaching, like. how to transmit that or model that.
Hmm. Yeah, the that really lands at I that is the word codependence shows up for me
Hmm.
in that. It's like
Totally.
where am I codependent with reality? It's like, oh, I'm identifying that the like that, oh, something about me determines what happens out there, and if what happens out there goes bad or good, it says something about me. And it's like, oh, there is some kind of codependence there. And like the other thing, and it's not entirely untrue either, like we're affecting reality all the time and reality is affecting us. This is one of these things. So that's like the interdependence thing. So it's not like I can say like, okay,
Hmm.
well, there's some sort of, okay, that's your experience, like
Hmm.
I'm just doing me, like
Mhm.
like that must be your projection. Your thing to deal with. Huh? You think I'm an annoying piece of shit? Well, that's just you reflected by me.
He who smells it doubts it. Yeah.
There's no way I could actually be being a piece of shit right now.
Ooh, I hate that.
I have definitely been those groups.
Well, like the projection as self-defense.
The like nothing, like you have to take responsibility for everything that you're experiencing, including sometimes if people are behaving inappropriately towards you.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. This is I feel like one of the it's become a pop spiritualism that doesn't hold nuance. It's like, no, there's an and there's like a synthesis to that. Okay, like, yeah, like I I am creating my own reality, and everything that I am at cause of everything that is around me, and also I am being impacted by everything. Reality is happening to me, at me at the same time, and there is a co-enactment happening all the time. And it's like it's like a good way to, how do I describe it? It's like, if I have to take responsibility for somebody being an asshole, it's like bypassing like healthy boundaries.
I'm also sitting on this question around. I know you're like pretty much doing this full time, Kedar, in terms of offering these things and coaching and workshops and all of that. And so much of being an entrepreneurial person that is like having to also kind of sell yourself as like a brand or something, or as like a something that's kind of impressive, or like I would trust you if I watched a video of you and been like, oh, okay, there's something here that I can trust. And both there's this question to me of like, how do you, or do you get like lonely where you're like, God, this sucks, like doing this all by myself and like just like me in my mind, and then how do you navigate the pressure to like, I don't know, make really impressive, flashy, whatever things that everyone else is doing that can sometimes feel gross, but maybe that's my projection of unclaimed power or something. Do you
Yeah,
struggle with any of these?
that's a great question. It's been a multi-year journey for
Hmm.
sure, and I feel like I'm still kind of claiming a certain level of comfortability. All of It's not come naturally to me. I've had
Hmm.
to really, really work with myself to find find a natural way. for every aspect of the like business side of being a healer coach person in the world. And and I remember I feel like each time I, like, for example, like for the longest time doing an enrollment call with somebody was like so hard and sometimes gross and all of that. And it took me some time. Like there was I had to like invest in mentorship. I had to like really study some different approaches to like authentic sales and things like that to find a place where I could sit there and be like, yeah, like like here's what we're gonna work on together. Like here's what you want. Here's what's in the way. Here's what we're gonna work on. You know, we're gonna create that together. It's gonna be 10K, da 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 da, and like stand by that and feel good and like be with them in the resistance without feeling like I'm pushing them. Like kind of to like in my being inhabit this healthy place of like, yes, I would like you to come and work with me, and I'm going to be a stand for that, and also be just as willing to be like totally zen and like you can, yeah, if this is fit, it's totally okay. And and in like some version of that process is happening with every aspect of it. And yeah, sometimes I get lonely in it. And yeah, I think ChatGPT in the last 2 years and AI in the last year and a half, 2 years has made me enjoy the process for the first
Hmm.
time, actually, because suddenly I have a mirror to,
Hmm.
go back and forth with, and I don't get stuck in the spiral of my own internal process of like, okay, like, well, what if I'm like taking my message and putting it this way? What's the message I'm at? And like suddenly there's a, like I can close the loop a little bit easier. And I'm a relational being. So, and yeah, and you kind of mentioned something interesting that had me think of something where I recently had a chance to go on a international trip as a facilitator to Egypt with a spiritual influencer. And he has a big following, and he invited me to be part of the faculty, and I got to go on the trip. And in the process of that, I got to see somebody who like like somebody who in my past, not too recent past, I would have mostly been in judgment of, been or dismissive of the way they were like engaging with the world and social media.
Mm.
But I had to set it aside because, well, I was there, and the actual person that I was with is a lovely human being at the core, and it's like, and so then when I like leaned into the gift of that, I'm like, well, what am I not claiming in myself?
Hmm.
What am I not claiming in myself? And I'm like, oh, I am not willing to stand behind what I believe, no matter what. Like there is something to that. Like I'm not like this man was willing to stand behind what he believed fully and claim it and share it with the world without any fear. And there were a lot of shadows there that came with that. But I was not claiming that with myself, and I've not been claiming that with myself until very recently. And it's like almost this interesting thing because I feel that to succeed in those environments, to succeed on social media, to succeed in that, it does require being like planting a flagpole, being like, here I am, here's what I believe, here's what I'm inviting you into. Come on, and if you don't, then so be it. And it's like, and it requires a certain level of like, here I am, take it or leave it. And that requires a level of courage because, you know, a lot of people will believe it.
I like hearing about this way that you're starting to relate to social media because it feels like a different perspective from mine.
Mhm.
And I want to know more. Like, for you, do you is social media like a way that you can find potential clients or potential retreatants, or do you view it more, or maybe something else entirely? Do you view it more as a way to spread a certain message to the world, or
Yeah.
something else?
Yeah, so I'm really early on in my social media journey, but for me it's both. It's both potential clients, and also it's like I'm starting to see it as a way for people, like there's two sides of it. There's like I want it to be really easy and really obvious for somebody who is a potential client to see that, get that, and find their way to me. Like super easy. It's like my online presence should be set up in such a way that it's very obvious for
Mhm.
that person that that is to work with me that I'm their person. And my job is to make it as easy as possible to get that. And then so that's for my like potential client. But then in general, across the board, for me it's like I want this place to be a place where it's like you get to see me, feel me, hear me, and then and ultimately trust me or not trust me. And so this is just that doorway to do that. And and so and so what I've been working with in myself is like knowing that I am working with a system that optimizes in a certain way, like like Instagram, like prioritizes certain things in certain ways. But you got there's a total science to working with the algorithm. So that's true. And then at the same time, it's like how me can I be there, you know? And I I don't know, I feel 80% motivated and enlivened by that challenge. 20% like this is stupid.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, what has always been my bread and butter for the last, like I've been you know th running this business for 5 years, and it's taken different shapes and forms, is it's word of mouth for me. Yeah. People see me, hear me, feel me, and then they're like, "Yeah, you're my guy." And then they're like, "Hey, he's your guy." Yeah. Like I'm curious for the two of you, how do you both relate to this thing, this whole dynamic? Because you both are in your own version of it. Yeah.
Huh. I think I'm doing it less than you probably. Like a lot of my work these days is working with a startup company and helping them out with stuff. Um, but it's interesting, like hearing you talk. It's like I have two really good friends that have been publishing online for like years now,
Yeah.
and it's like that new frame came to me as we were talking of like it's almost like they developed a relationship with the like internet as if the internet was a being
Yeah.
and like just like consistently showed up in a certain way over a long period of time. And so now all the algorithms or whatever like just point attention to them and something shifted in me because like at the monastery I was like all about like local in-person direct connection, and then leaving I was like, well, I don't have that anymore. So and I was like kind of hateful about having to go online and do stuff. But that sense of like building a relationship with like this like vessel that then connects me with more people. And it's almost like a spiritual practice of like how do I not take what I'm putting out there as like or the reaction to it as like me. Like I'm like it's like almost like it's like I'm building a beautiful sign or something, and it's like you're having a relationship to this sign, not necessarily directly with like me as a person or human being.
Totally.
So
Yeah.
But I still feel really early in my journey. I have like a bunch of like unpublished YouTube videos and like Substack articles that need to go out. It's,
Yeah.
I still haven't figured out how I relate to it all. I really agree with what you said, Kedar, that it's so helpful for clients to be able to look at something online and to know like, okay, this is my person, or I vibe with them in this way, just like get more of a sense of who you really are. And then at the same time, I think some of the things influencing me are something that you also mentioned earlier about like all those noises that we're surrounded with. And I guess I have a question of, is it better to put a good noise out there into the system, or is it better to like remove yourself? And then the other thing is my partner has like a social media following, and it's been really good for him in some ways, like more resources. He doesn't do the same kind of thing as me, but he's like been able to meet cool people and talk about his ideas, and also shadow side of that, which I hope neither of you experience, like haters and people doxing your address.
mm,
It's yeah, like I like focusing on the positive, and right now it's like very recent exposure to some of the negative
Yeah.
aspects.
mm, mm.
To-
It's-
Totally. Yeah. That's a very real thing.
What I wonder, Kedar, do you have any? What's your stack now? Like, what do you do for practice, or where do you find your edge, or edge of healing, or
Mm,
what's?
yeah. It's a great question. So very, very recently, I have been my, I would say a large part of my practice has just been around actually my my work and like business as practice, showing up to my sessions as practice, and just living in a certain kind of presence all the time if I can. And that is coming as a result of it's almost like a response to the fact that my life has been very like I've been like in so many places. Like I was just in Egypt, and before that I like I've been traveling a lot, and whether it's for retreats or whether it's for clients, whatever it may be, I've been not really stationary in one place for even an entire month this year. And so it's demanded me to approach things in a different way. But what is coming for me is I am planning on in August I will be heading to Peru and doing a 30-day long retreat where we sit with ayahuasca every day for 30 days. And I've been feeling this has been a big kind of like, okay, like it's time for you to go and do something very deep and very big. And it's been like, I'm not gonna lie, I'm terrified.
Yeah.
But the terror is part of the reason I'm going.
Hmm. I have a side question about ayahuasca, and I think I already know the answer. And we can just edit this out of the thing. But I've only done ayahuasca once, so it was maybe a year and a half ago. And my experience was I could feel that the sensation of like wanting to throw up.
Yeah.
And then if I really focused on it, I could find an emotion that or some experience inside myself that I found like really disgusting. That was this is not allowed to be a part of who I am. And then when I made peace of that, the nausea just completely went away.
Yeah.
I had that experience multiple times. At one point, I was almost feel like I was missing out. I was like, I actually kind of want to physically throw up, and I tried to, and I couldn't get myself to do it. And so I want you to validate that I'm just really good at navigating my emotions. But no, it was just really interesting to see, like, oh, why is that coming up? And you know, it was really weird because like I felt I went to like the depths of hell the first day, and
Yeah.
I so wanted someone to reassure me or be there for me, but and they were like angels, but like it wasn't quite the setup where like you do emotional processing. It's more like, at least in this place, it was like have your experience.
Totally. Yeah. So I'll just start by validating your ego.
Thank you.
You're on another level, Mitra. Like your mastery over the medicine and the emotions. It's just wow.
It's amazing. All right.
I think you've transcended. I don't think you need ayahuasca anymore.
Thank you. Very good. We'll make that the quote for the episode. There we go.
Means so much from you, Kedar.
Mm. Grandmother is proud of me. Yes.
No, but that's really cool. It's I most that well two things. The purge is incredibly symbolic. There's no one thing, you know, like around the purge. It's like and so the one like it's very easy for people to put one story around what the purge is and what the purge is doing in ayahuasca. Like, you know, it's like, oh, like this is a obviously a bad emotion or a bad belief, or that it's that I'm or something like that. And so, yeah, that can be what it is sometimes. Sometimes you ate too much food too close to the ceremony, and it's
Right.
pretty physical, you know. You know, sometimes there's sometimes it's energetic. Sometimes it's like my body can't hold all the energy, and so it's like it's just a bunch of kundalini moving through the system, and so your body is not yet able to be with it, and so you throw up. Sometimes it is like something that is wanting to actually just like an actual parasite in the system, and there is no one story that can be applied for the purge universally across the board. And so in this case, like it was really good that like you stayed with it and you discovered, this is actually something that I can, you know, integrate and be with in a different way. And like that's incredible. And like I don't think and like that might have been the case for another person, but because of the way that you have a really strong self practice, so you're like, oh great, like I can be with this and notice, and that's really impressive. Like most people don't have that, and the fact that you were in a place like, and actually kind of one of the things that you mentioned is a big value and philosophy of mine when it comes to medicine work is when we're doing medicine work in the West, I actually feel that it is incredibly important for people to have the space to emotionally process in the ceremonies, not necessarily during the night itself, but the next day, and for there to be people that can do that, because most people are coming into these ceremonies without any idea of how to do that with themselves in general, like, and then B, how to interpret and make sense of the language of the subconscious and the language of ayahuasca, and that is its own language, and both the language of the subconscious and the collective unconscious paired with the language of ayahuasca together is a language people have zero proficiency in typically. And so it's very easy to get into misinterpretations, misdirections, delusions with these experiences, and it's really, really important. There's a reason, you know, like this is what I believe the role of the practitioner is. A good practitioner is one who can actually be a strong doorway and translator between those experiences. It's like, okay, you're coming. The shaman opens the doorway and says, hey, we're going to like ask what's on the other side. We're going to ask the spirit of the plants, the spirits of this land, whatever we're calling in, the spirits of our ancestors, doesn't matter. We're going to call in forces to support some specific purpose. In this case, it's healing. It doesn't have to be healing, but you know, sometimes people say it's healing, but it's something else. But it's in this case, it's healing. And then somebody's coming and they're going, okay, we want to heal. And so it's like you open the doorway and you stand there and you do what you can to allow that process to happen without as few barriers as possible. And sometimes that actually is contradictory because it involves getting involved.
Mhm.
And so some people, some facilitators and shamans have the philosophy, it's like, I just let this happen between you and the medicine.
Mm.
And I actually feel that that's only a partial truth and partially in disservice. It's like it's kind of the same in, like, I think it's like encircling when we say, okay, the only orientation here is surrender, and I'm just going to allow everything that happens to happen, and I'm just in deep surrender. And like, no, you're missing this entire other half of existence that involves the pull to that, which is agency. And it's like, oh, life might be inviting me to step into action, and the thing that is most needed, that is most in truth and most in love, is actually stepping in and taking action in some way, shape, or form. And so coming back to like the emotional processing thing, it's like okay, like people are coming in with the intuitive language of parts, basically. Like, even if they don't know parts work, even if they have never heard of parts before, this is often what I find to be the most natural way people are able to relate to their experience coming from the West. And if you go to Peru, for example, and you're sitting, or it doesn't matter, if you go into the indigenous Amazon, it's like, okay, we're gonna talk the language of spirits and animism, and it's great, and that's just as real, and points to a lot of the same things, but there is a larger gap. It's like you walk in, zero knowledge, and you're told that you have a demon inside of you. It's like, okay, what do I do with that? Oh, you have a inner child that's in deep amount of shame, and you've got an addictive part of you that is like run amok and is like poured a bunch of alcohol into you so you don't have to feel that. Like, that's much easier to work with. It's like there might still be a demon in the picture, but at least in this way, there's some pathways for that person to go. And yes, and as a facilitator, you might have to work with those demons in the process, or they might have to work with those demons in the process, but they are intertwined and they're all part of the same constellation and ecosystem. Yeah.
I like just hearing your expertise. It feels there's a certain like vibration to it that's like, oh, Kedar really knows what he's talking about. It's really good.
Yeah, it feels so good when someone's like knowledgeable and confident, and I can just be held in that. Like, it feels very secure for me.
Yeah. Feels sweet. I feel grateful for like the army of mentors behind me, basically. Yeah.
Can I ask one last question? So you have this 30-day retreat on the horizon. You have the work that you're doing. What do you hope for more of in your life? We talked about truth, but I'm curious, like, what's the thing that you're wanting or hoping to step into, or what's your North Star?
An even deeper courage in myself to face all that is coming, and stronger balance in myself so that I can be with what's coming.
I feel we could easily talk for hours, actually.
Totally.
More questions that are popping up, but I want to honor the time commitment we made. Is there any way people can reach you, Kedar, in terms of like how do people hit you up?
Yeah, I would say you can shoot me a DM on Instagram, or reach out to me through my website. Both of those ways are perfectly good ways to get in touch with me.
Well, we'll link those in the episode description.
Great.
Nice.
Thanks so much, Kedar.
Thanks for having me. It was super fun to talk with you both.
Thanks for listening to this interview with Mitra, Kish, and our guest, Facilitator. If you like this podcast, please like and subscribe.
For more information, check out our websites, which we will link in the description.
Nice.